Lucy's Kitchen, it's Lucy's Kitchen. She's Lucy and she's got a kitchen. Lucy's Kitchen.
And now that we've got your attention, let's cook. Hi there. Welcome to Lucy's Kitchen. I'm Lucy, and this is my kitchen. Today we're going to make Kolokithopita. That's a mouthful. Kolokithopita is a Greek phyllo pie, and the filling is zucchini and summer squash, feta cheese, delicious savories like onions and herbs. It's a wonderful dish, and it's very traditional in late summer when zucchini is growing everywhere. I love it because it uses a lot of zucchini, 6 cups of zucchini, which is about 4 zucchini. And that, you might end up with lots more than 4 if you grow it at home. I know that I have never had really good success growing zucchini, but when people do grow it successfully, they usually have a ton of it. And in fact, there's some old wives' tales that say that don't leave your house during zucchini season because somebody might leave a basket of zucchini on your porch. And if you're already growing zucchini, that's the last thing you want. Now, I'd like to tell whoever that is to come on over to my house and drop it on my porch because I don't grow it successfully, and I would love to have a basket of zucchini dropped on my porch. Anyway, I digress. Here we are with our beautiful ingredients for Kolokithopita. Now, Greeks have a wonderful way of making just about anything into a pie. And by pie, I mean a phyllo pie. So they use phyllo and phyllo is a very paper-thin dough. It's layered in a pan with brushed butter in between the layers, and it becomes beautifully crispy and tall and just delicious, and it smells amazing. And Greeks have a tendency to want to wrap just about everything in it. So Kolokithopita is a pie that is, as I said, traditional in summer. We've also have made before on this show, we've made spanakopita, which is similar. All right, what's in it? Zucchini. We've got this beautiful green zucchini and yellow squash. And so I've cut them into half rounds basically. And I'm going to saute this, and we're going to saute it with about a cup and a half of green onions chopped. And then we've got some beautiful chopped fresh parsley and some of the quintessential Greek herbs like oregano, fresh oregano, and fresh mint, which is just such a nice touch. And then I'm adding some dried dill. Now, if you have fresh dill, use fresh dill. It would be even better. But dried dill does the trick, and it actually tastes quite good. Salt and pepper. Then, once we saute all these wonderful ingredients together, we're going to combine them with eggs and crumbled feta cheese. And then we're going to layer it all together in a spring-form pan and make a beautiful round pie and bake it, and then we'll try it. So why don't you join me over at the stove, and we'll start our sauteing process and take it from there. Okay, here we are. I've melted some butter together with some olive oil, heated them both up together until they're quite hot. The butter is bubbling, so I know it's ready to go. I'm going to start by sauteing the onions, and we're doing all of this over high heat. One of our goals today is to reduce the zucchini to we want it to give up its liquid and almost caramelize. We're going to just keep sauteing it until it reduces probably almost by half. So we're going to see how that goes. In the meantime, I'll get my onions started, and of course we want all these delicious green onions. Now, people have asked me, can I use regular onions? Yes, absolutely. I like green onions though because they have a distinctive flavor. The distinctive flavor is also something that you notice in a lot of Greek food. And so one dish that I can think of just off the top of my head is spanakopita. And you use green onions in spanakopita, and it gives a kind of a tangy onion flavor versus a more mellow onion flavor that you get in a regular onion. But if you don't have green onions, go ahead and use regular onions. And If you have a combination, that will work too. A little bit of green onion will go a long way. So this is about, I'd say about 8 green onions, so maybe 2 bunches, but it's about 1.5 cups when it's chopped. And they've really been giving off their beautiful, beautiful fragrance, and they're softening just a little, so I'm going to go ahead and add the zucchini. All right. Now, some versions of this recipe call for you to grate the zucchini and to sprinkle it with salt and drain it in a colander and get out most of the juices. And that is a perfectly okay way to do it. But I like this because when you have this pita, we're going to get little individual pieces of zucchini, and by cooking it, we sort of accomplish the same thing. And we get the benefit of the zucchini caramelizing a little, which makes it taste extra good. It's going to take a few minutes to get this sautéed. So in the meantime, I'm going to stir it and work on it and be back to you in a second. Okay, our summer squash is wilting beautifully. It's softening up. It's starting to brown a little bit. It's wilting, and that's how we know that it's cooking. And we definitely want it to cook down. We want this to be cooked before it actually goes in the pita. Oh, by the way, Kolokithopita is a pita. Now, when you refer to pita in Greek cooking, you're always talking about something that's made with phyllo. Pita means pie. Now, right as at this point is a good point to add your herbs. I'll add my parsley. We don't want them to be added too soon because we want them to stay fresh as much as possible so that they really have a lot of flavor in the dish. That was the mint. And this is our fresh oregano. Now, if you don't have fresh oregano, you can use dried. About a teaspoon of dried oregano for 2 tablespoons of fresh. Now, you can see that's turning out beautifully. I'm going to add the dill now. I'm going to add the pepper. Okay. So our filling is really coming together. It's, I would say that we've reduced the zucchini and yellow squash by about half. And that's what we want. So I'm going to turn off the stove. And now what we want to do is we want to cool this off before we add our cheese and our eggs to it. We don't want the eggs to scramble. So we're going to let this cool off, and then I will show you how to combine it with the other ingredients and then make the pita itself. Okay, our summer squash is cooling down nicely and it looks amazing. Again, those herbs have such a wonderful fragrance. It's just rich with flavor. So anyway, I'm letting it cool, as I mentioned earlier. I've been stirring it and trying to just, get as much steam out as I can. It doesn't have to be cold. You can make it in advance if you want to and, let it cool off for several hours, but it's not necessary. Just enough cooled off so that it doesn't cook the eggs and cheese. And speaking of the eggs and cheese, we've got 4 beautiful eggs. And I'm going to just put them into this mixing bowl where I'm going to beat them a little bit. And to that, I'm going to add 2 cups of crumbled feta cheese. Now Now I'm just going to very gently fold this together. Okay, now I'm going to set that aside. I've got my Phyllo. Now, Phyllo comes in all kinds of packaging. It comes in 1 pound packages, usually with either 1 or 2 rolls in there. We're using the one that comes with 2 rolls because I like how it's already cut in half. If you do happen to have the kind that's 1 giant roll, 1 pound roll, what you want to do is you want to cut it in half because those sheets are twice the width of these. Cut it in half and then roll up half of it and tightly wrap it in plastic and then wrap it in foil, and you can stick it right back in your freezer so it doesn't have to go to waste. In the meantime, this Phyllo is very convenient because it's already been done, and so that's one reason I like to do that. And usually it says right on the box whether it has 1 or 2 rolls in it. Now, Phyllo has about 20 sheets to each of these rolls, including the big rolls. Now, the big rolls, if you're using those, again, we're talking double the size. So if you cut it in half, you'll end up with 40. And that's what we have in a box, a regular box of Phyllo. It comes in a roll. Usually there's a bit of wrapping around it to keep it fresh. And just unwrap it. And this particular wrapping is very handy because I can just lay the Phyllo right on it and roll it carefully. Okay, and then unfold it because now it's folded in half. And there we go. This is the perfect half sheet of Phyllo. If you're making this with a different kind, remember, cut it in half, save the rest. I'm going to cover it with a damp towel. And I'm going to move it over here for a minute while I get my pan ready to go. We're going to be working pretty quickly in a minute. Okay, so now I have a springform pan. This is a pretty good size one, about 10 inches. And you could do 10 inches, and if you don't have a 10 inch, you have a 9 inch, that's okay. Your pita will just be a little taller. This pita is going to end up being kind of, I don't know, deep dish pizza size. So we'll enjoy that. And so to get it ready, you just take a little bit of the melted butter, and we've melted a stick of butter, so that's 8 tablespoons of butter, which is probably exactly what we'll need, but always have extra butter hanging around in case you need more. I'm brushing the bottom of the pan, and I'm going to brush the sides. And I'm doing this because the pan is kind of cold and it'll make the butter sort of stick to it a little bit better. And then the butter will be a little stickier so that when we do our first layer, it'll stick to the sides. Okay, now we're ready to mix our filling. And it's pretty perfect. So I'm going to just put my eggs and feta cheese right in with the sauteed zucchini. And then I'm going to use a spoon and very gently mix it together. And don't forget, this is going to cook in the oven, and it'll make a beautiful cheese custard with this wonderful sauteed summer squash just floating in it. You're going to really like this. And this is a great dish to feed a finicky eater who says that they don't care for, you know, vegetables. Well, hide them in Phyllo and you'll never have trouble again. Okay. All right, we want this evenly mixed. Done. Now back to the Phyllo and back to our pan. So a minute ago, I buttered the pan. Now I'm going to take 1 sheet of this Phyllo. Oh, and by the way, sometimes people call it Phyllo. It's not Phyllo, it's Phyllo. And we're going to just kind of evenly lay it over the bottom and have it cling to the sides, just like that. Now, I'm doing that so that when we put the filling in, it actually has kind of a little basket of phyllo around it, so it doesn't spill out. And now we just take a little bit of butter and brush the bottom and brush the sides. Now the trick, because if you're noticing, it might be hard to see because it's white against silver, but if you're noticing, we've got it up two sides. So we turn it a quarter of the way and then put the next sheet in the other direction. That way, the sides are relatively even. And we just do the same thing, brush and make it stick a little. And if it falls down, well, that's pretty normal. It's okay. Now, some people are very timid about using phyllo because, and I'm going to turn it another quarter. Okay, do another one. Some people are intimidated by phyllo because it does tend to dry. You have to work quickly and be careful with it. But the truth is, even if it tears and even if it does dry a little bit, nobody will be able to tell because once it's baked, all those layers will be on the inside, so you won't have to worry. I'm going to just take a quick look and see how many sheets I have. Okay, so I think I have about 20, as I said, maybe 22. And what we're going to do is we're going to put like maybe 8 on the bottom. Which, did I turn it again? No. Okay. The most important layers of a phyllo pie are the bottom layers and the top layers, because those are the crispy layers. You want to make sure you really have those layers covered. And now this layer we're not going to butter because it's going to have filling on it and we don't have to butter it. So now I'm going to cover this up with my towel. We're going to go to the filling. Now one of the things that I forgot to mention was that we don't put salt in here until just before we put the filling into the phyllo, and because we don't want it to give up an excess amount of liquid, which salt would make it do. And that's why I didn't put it in when we were cooking it. But I'm adding it now, and I tasted my feta cheese, and it is sort of medium salty. So I'm adding 1 teaspoon of salt, which I think will be more than enough. Now, you should taste your feta, and if it tastes like super salty, then use a little bit less than that, and if it tastes bland, then use a little bit more. So this is perfect. We're going to just stir it up, and now I'm taking half and putting it in to my pan. Okay, and then use the back of the spoon to spread it out. And by the way, isn't that beautiful? Just looking at it in the phyllo, isn't that pretty? It's gorgeous. Okay, now, ready to do another couple of layers. Okay, now this layer is going to be in between 2 layers of filling. Now, my mother used to do this, and a lot of Greeks don't, but I learned to do it from her. And what it does is it allows the filling to cook very evenly instead of all being like a big clumpy thing. And I don't know, it's just always worked for me, so that's what I do. I divide my filling in half, and I do 2 halves like that. And in between, we do usually 3 or 4 layers of phyllo. And here's my filling. Once again, I'm going to give it a good stir and incorporate any juices that might have been released. put it right in here. And now for the top layer, which is made up of all the rest of the phyllo. Now this is where we want to put the most butter, because this layer will rise the most and will be the most decorative. And so, that's where you get your oohs and ahs when you serve it to people. And I'm still turning it and turning it because I want it to be even. Now, some people actually cut the phyllo to fit. And you could do that, but this gives you a really crispy edge. And that's why I like to do it like this. Okay, now I'm going to take the sheet of phyllo, and this time I am going to cut it around the edge with my knife. So it's a nice flat piece. I'll show you again. And perfect. Brush that with butter. And now these last couple, you really want to slather with butter. Butter makes the world go round. The secret to life is butter. Okay, last one. Same thing. Going to put it in here and just tuck it against the edge. And throw that away. And this little bit. And we are almost done. Okay, this is marvelous. And I'm going to just take my brush and sort of push down around the edge so it tucks down there a little bit. And that'll help it hold together more. Now I'm going to set that aside. Okay, now the one thing we want to do before we bake this is to score it. One of the things about phyllo is that once you bake it, it's so crispy that it could go just flying. And so when you make spanakopita or you make any kind of pita, in this case, Kolokithopita, we want to cut it into serving sizes. And because we're making this in a round pan, we want our serving sizes to be wedges. So I've got a very sharp knife, and I start in the middle, and I'm going to just cut all the way through gently, because when we serve this, you're going to serve it out on a board and cut it again. But we want to gently cut through the layers. And I usually do it in quarters. So I start, do that, turn it around again. And we can do, I think I'm going to make this into eighths. You're going to want seconds anyway. There we go. So, okay, it's 1 tablespoon of butter per person. And okay, now we're going to take our butter that we have left and we're going to pour it onto the cuts so that they get a little bit of extra butter. And that's just a good way to use it up. If you don't have any butter left, you don't have to do that step, but I like to use every bit. That's it. Now, we're going to bake this. I've got the oven set to 375, and I think that should be pretty good. It might take an hour to bake it. It might take 45 minutes. So when I come back, I'll let you know exactly how long it took to cook, and we'll give it a try. So our pita is gorgeous. It smells fantastic. I can see the filling. The phyllo has pulled back a little bit, so you can actually see the filling. And by using a knife and just tapping it, you can see that it's firm, it's done. So we're ready to give it a try. So what we do with our beautiful pita, Kolokithopita, is that I'm going to pop it out of the springform pan. And this is where it's super easy. Okay. And I'll just put my ring over there. Okay. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? So I'm going to slide it from there right onto my board. Now that's going to be a little tricky because it's still warm, but it's not too bad. So let me get these awkward mitts. Okay, there we go. And, all right. So here's the nice thing about a springform pan. Obviously, we got rid of the sides very easily. And now all I need is a nice, good spatula. And I just kind of feel around on the bottom to make sure that it's, you know, detached. And then there, slide it right to the middle of this wonderful board. Isn't this beautiful? Look at that. One of the nice things about putting it into a springform pan is that you have a nice compact zucchini pie. And so that means you can take this and serve it at the table right from this board or from a big platter. You know, it makes it super easy for serving, and of course, just looking at it makes you hungry, making me hungry. I can't wait to try it. So let's give it a try. And so I've got a whole bunch of implements here, a good sharp knife, and if you'll recall, we sliced it through, but it didn't go all the way through. It was just, you know, kind of to score it. And so now I'm going to take my knife and actually cut all the way down. And then we'll take one of these beautiful slices, which by the way is huge. And there's my, here it is. Okay. And I'm going to place that on my plate. Okay, here we go. And look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my God. It smells fantastic. And I'm just going to place it right on my plate. Now this would be beautiful with a green salad. And that's about all you need. It also goes so nicely with grilled meats, shish kebab, keftedes, which are little Greek seasoned meatballs. You know, but it's just like this. You've got a wonderful, wonderful light dinner and a fabulous side dish. So I think it's cooled enough. It's quite lovely. The colors are green and yellow, and we've got a little bit of that marvelous brown crust. And listen to that crunch. It is absolutely fantastic. Oh my God, it's light. It's like a souffle inside. And the filling hasn't collapsed. That's the other nice thing. Because of my secret phyllo layer in the middle, the filling is just perfectly cooked all the way through. And I can't tell you what a difference that makes. Wow, that is wonderful. I absolutely adore this. This is such a good dish. You're going to really, really like to try this sometime. I know it. You're going to really feel empowered after today's show. All right, here we go again. Well, you've got that wonderful, savory, almost tart feta cheese that, you know, definitely signals it's there. The herbs, the mint, the dill, and the oregano are just a bouquet of deliciousness. And of course, the custard is light and fluffy, and the distinctive pieces of summer squash are perfectly cooked through and tender. Well, I hope you'll give it a try. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Lucy's Kitchen. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come back next time when we share more delicious recipes from my kitchen to yours.